Hey listeners, welcome again for another exciting episode on MyGigsters on GigPod. For this particular episode, I've got a really amazing person that I wanted you to talk to, and I want to hear more about the story, and I want to share that story with you today. Here I've got Clea Jones. Hi, Clea.
Hi.
Welcome to GigPod. Clea is a freelancer, has been a freelancer, very experienced, but on top of that, she helps thousands of freelancers across the country in helping them establish, maintain, and grow their freelancing business through her courses, books, community, and paying coaching for them. So we'll talk about more about her business, but here, welcome to GigPod. So exciting to have you here. To me, we only had a short chat before, so it's also going to be equally exploring for me because I'm eager to know more about the story and all of that stuff. So question that I want to start with is, who is Clea and what's the story behind this?
Well, thank you so much for having me. One of my favorite things to talk about is myself. So it's always a pleasure to be invited on a podcast and asked a lot of questions. Who am I? There's a lot of ways to answer that. I'm a mother of two. I live in Sydney on the Northern Beaches. My freelancing journey happened when I was in my mid-30s. I had started my career big stars in my eyes. I wanted to be a media or television star, and I ended up getting into journalism and working in radio as a producer. And I did that for about 6 years, and that was a lot of very hard work. It was a real baptism of fire. I was working with some big names. I was working very quickly, learning to adapt to various situations and turn news into stories and basically do an unplanned, unrehearsed show every single day. I did that for a little while and I completely burnt out by the time I was in my mid-20s and took a little bit of time off. And when I got back after traveling, I kind of knocked on the door at Yahoo. And this was back in the day when you literally could just kind of show up and knock on the door and say, "Oh, can I have a job, please?" And they said, "Do you know HTML?" And I said, "Sure."
Sure.
8 years later, I still didn't know HTML, but I worked my way up, kind of started by applying my journalism skills and my editorial skills. I worked on the homepage for a little while, uploading content, and then I migrated into product management, which was a really big learning experience for me, learning how to build websites, how to manage them, how to liaise with different stakeholders. So I was helping to product manage for the 7 News website because Yahoo was partnered with them at the time. Learned an awful lot about the online world, made a lot of amazing friends who I'm still friends with today. And that it was going really well for me. And then I had my first child. And as many of us who work in corporate know, when you have your first child, life gets very difficult. So I had a year off. I went back and it was this crazy juggle of rushing to get into the city, rushing to get home again, feeling exhausted all the time, trying to do a work from home day. It's basically impossible with a small child. And I was just getting really worn out. And I remember my mum came to visit and she said, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You look really tired." And I said, "No, Mum, this is just how I look. This is just how I look these days. Like I'm about to die." And I don't know if you know much about product management, but there's a quote that says product management is like riding a bike, except that the bike is on fire and you are on fire and everything is on fire. So it was a lot of pressure and something had to give. And the turning point for me was being offered a redundancy. And I was lucky. I received a few months' pay. I think it was just a really good time for me. Things were changing in the business. So I took the money and I thought, what am I going to do? And for me, what I really loved and what I knew I wanted to come back to was writing. So I thought, just through necessity, I thought I'm going to start a copywriting business. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do it. I had no idea what was involved. I basically just sat back for a couple of weeks, figured out how to build my own website, started calling myself a copywriter, applying my skills that I already had and learning on the go. So I absolutely started from scratch. It worked for me so well because it meant I had more flexibility to be with my child. It meant that I wasn't trying to get into the city every day. I wasn't answering to the same boss because I was running late all the time. And fortunately, I had that really good background of kind of 10, 15 years of practical skills, both
Yeah.
in copy and online. So I was able to merge the two. And then, yeah, it just built from there. So that's my origin story.
Wow. Wow. I think the element of, yes, you got the right experience and the skills, but like let's for a moment keep that aside. There's the element of lifestyle here and the unique challenges. And it's not a unique challenge, but it's a challenge that, you know, my wife right now faces a very similar challenge, and it's a challenge for many women out there, especially at that space where they're struggling to juggle things and stuff like that, and there is a mental health contribution to that too, because how far and how long can you do it? Even if it's financially viable, it may not be a safe choice to do. That's for wellness sake. So it takes a lot of courage to not do something that is safe and certain, and then choose something that is you don't know, like as in you when you what time was this? What can you give me in a year, for example?
This was, I think, 2015.
Wow.
And I think it comes back to necessity is the mother of invention. I live 2 hours away from the CBD. And so for me, I just couldn't, there was no way I could have my life with my child the way I wanted to and make it into the city. It just wasn't possible. So when I started freelancing, it was really all or nothing. I didn't want to apply for work. I didn't want to have a job. So I had to go all in. And I think that that's part of what drove me to, being able to sustain it for the last kind of 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive because in my opinion, you started when, at least in Australia, freelancing itself was not a very popular, go-to profession for many. There were only a few people who got the courage to actually try it out. The penetration of platforms to offer freelancing gigs were not that many, so there's opportunities to get jobs were also less. You probably have to do a lot of, tailored cold calling and emails and stuff to get clients and retain clients. Now it's, we've got platforms to facilitate that interaction. So it's quite a journey. And I keep telling this to my community is, when, like any other business, we know 90% of business fails in the first 3 years, and freelancing is a business. It's the end of the
Yep.
day, it's a soul trading business. So if you're able to survive the first 3 years and you're able to find something that works for you, and then you keep growing and it becomes better and better as you work on it. So all of that work, all of that narrative that you have, and it's brought you today to an incredible position, which I'm really impressed is you've got this freelancing business you still do, which you still love writing and you still write, which is great. And you wanted to give back and help others in the journey, which is what is more inspiring, right? Because you didn't want to go build an entire copywriting empire. You went on to start Six Figure Freelancer. And what is Six Figure Freelancer, and what's the mission there?
That's a really good question. The reason I started Six Figure Freelancer was because people I'm a big sharer on social media. I've come around to being a bit more comfortable with promoting myself, which is maybe something we can have a chat about a little bit later. So I was putting on social media what I was doing. I was sharing my wins. I was sharing my challenges, and people started to reach out to me, people that I already knew or friends of friends, like, hey, I hear you're doing this already and it's going well for you. And I was getting a lot of questions and kind of a lot of coffee dates and a lot of chats on the phone. And I thought, well, maybe this can be another extension of my business, is to make it a little bit more formal, and to share what I know with people. I'm also in a business coaching group, which I value really highly. So, and I just sit there and I watch the teachers in that group, and I get so inspired by them and what they're doing. And I thought I would really love to share as well. The more we can share knowledge with each other, and the more we can support each other and lift each other up, the better off we're all going to be. So it's really lovely to be able to help people. And I had somebody I mentored a year or two ago, and she's doing so well she doesn't even really need me as much anymore. And it's really nice to have that experience.
So you end up creating Six Figure Freelancer, and for listeners, don't worry, I'll put the links in the description, and I'll also tell how you can connect with her, and also the website. But Six Figure Freelancer is designed to help freelancers at early stages or any stage of their freelancing journey.
I think I've more focused it on people who are really just getting started, or even at the point where they're, freelance curious. So you're thinking, I'm in my job, or I'm on maternity leave right now, or I've just graduated from school, and how am I actually going to do this? So it's really for that point where you're either deciding to make the leap or you've just made the leap. So I've made the website. There's some great articles on there that I've put together to kind of help you get started on your journey. There's a little quiz you can take that says, are you actually cut out to be a freelancer? Because something that I have found in the early days, people said to me, should I freelance? And I was like, you should freelance. You should totally freelance. And then they came back to me 6 months later and went, I hate this, and people are mean to me, and and I kind of thought, there is a little bit of a personality type. You've got to have a bit of thick skin, got to be military organized. You can't let procrastination ruin every single day. I mean, it does ruin some of our days, and you really have to be focused on things like customer service. You have to think about marketing. So it's not, and you can't as well spend all your days overthinking a tiny $100 job. So I think the quiz is a really good place to start, where you can just see this is for me, or maybe it's not for me. And then there's a short course and a longer course, and my little book that I wrote with an accountant friend of mine, which is called Finance for Freelancers, because obviously financial management is a really, really big part of it. And I offer private mentoring as well if you want to get in touch, and we can kind of work out a way to do that.
Nice. Thanks. I like the quiz, Brett. So I'm going to put that in the description too. So for listeners, if you're curious to know, are you a freelancer? So you should check it out. I agree with you, because freelancing is not a format of work. It's a business in itself. So like any other business that has finances, marketing, customer service, product development, whatever you think, and that's all includes into a freelancing business also at various degrees, but you got to consider yourself as a business to be able to do that really good. Here's the question. I've been waiting to ask you this question. The question is, now you started in 2014, 15. And it's been a few years, and in that few years, a lot of things have happened. COVID, and obviously that took off a couple of years from our last part of our life, and we had workplaces changing. The way work has been defined has changed over the last few years. Technology has changed, so a lot of things have changed, and the access to and acceptance of freelancing, both from the business perspective and also from individuals, have also shifted in many ways. So the question to you is, how do you see freelancing this year, as in 2023? What's the genie in your mind saying what's happening right now?
It's so interesting to look back, and I remember when COVID happened, that kind of mid-March, it was probably 3 years ago, in the middle of March, everything started to shut down, and we realized that this was very real. And I had clients fall over, boom, boom, boom. I had tourism operators, I had real estate agents that I was doing a lot of work for just email me and say, we're out. So I kind of sat there 3 years ago going, uh-oh, I'm in a lot of trouble here. And there was a transition period where I had to rapidly onboard some new clients. So it was very stressful for me and very scary. And actually in 2023, I'm actually seeing a little bit of that again, not because of COVID, obviously, but the economy's changing. So whereas over the last couple of years, once I rebuilt those clients, I've had a really good run, a couple of years where I haven't had to solicit for work. I haven't had to put myself out there too proactively, other than my kind of standard way that I market myself. Things have actually gone a little bit quiet, and I think it's because people are holding their financial cards a bit closer to their chest. And I think the lesson from this is you always have to be prepared to start again, to re-hustle, to re-engage with people. You always have to be actively on the move and thinking and ready to reframe and reset and go, okay, this is what was working last year. What's going to work this year? And if you sit still and think, no, this is the way I do it, the world is going to move on without you. So you really have to look at your potential customers and go, what do they want? What can I give them? In certain economic times, there's always people who are spending more money and earning more money. They call it the lipstick effect, that people buy lipstick because it's a cheap luxury, or they go and buy things like craft beer. And bicycle sales go up in a recession because people are pulling back. So then I have to reframe, and as freelancers, we have to reframe and go, right, where is the money and how am I going to chase it? So I think this year is just all about, it's going to be about pushing a little bit harder, working a little bit harder, thinking outside the box, being a little bit more creative, finding the opportunities that are out there, and then building on those, which is what's really exciting, because once you've built something a bit more solid, the pendulum will swing, things will change again, and then you can ride high on that wave and enjoy what's out there.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And I agree with the, that as a freelancer, things change and you got to change and, evolve to be in par with what's happening around and be able to survive, and not only survive, to also grow and excel in whatever stream of freelancing you're in. And especially in 2023, yes, there is, we are borderline recession, higher interest rates, inflation, and we know that, yes, and that's been really real. But there's also green shoots. The green shoots are, businesses are cutting down costs, looking at freelancers to
absolutely,
still do a few on-demand work as and when needed. There's been layoffs in certain industries, and that industry is, they're tapping into freelancers. Yes, there's both sides of the story. One, yes, there's uncertain economic condition, but there's also some silver lining where if you are able to tap into it, you might be able to, harness the opportunity in the best way possible. What I have here as a question following this particular topic is, I have people in my MyGigsters community and also in the wider community. Okay, Benji, I wanted to start doing something. Like, I'm, for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's because I want to supplement my income because my interest rates have gone high. I need to make extra $200 a month and I don't know how. And I've been hearing about freelancing all across social media, but I don't know what to do. So for those folks who are thinking about starting as a freelancer in this year, what's your tip to them?
It's a good question, and this is something that I talk about in my course, is how to get those first clients. And the other question is the chicken egg thing, like, do I need a $2,000 website before I can start freelancing? How much money do I have to put into creating my own brand or getting things off the ground before I actually find some clients? I think that the answer to that question is start with the bare minimum. Start with your LinkedIn profile. You can fiddle around and tinker, and you do need a website, I think, but start with your LinkedIn profile, get that up. That's free. And start putting things on social media. That's free. If you want to get the ball rolling, and this is how I started. I was doing a little bit here and there just to test the waters before I lost my job. The best thing you can do is talk to people. And have a chat to someone on your lunch break at work. Like, I'm thinking about doing some freelancing on the side, and this is what I'm really good at. Talk to your family, talk to your friends. Don't be shy about it. I had a conversation with a woman on the bus, and she was a neighbor, and she said, she runs a copywriting business as well. She's kind of expanded now. And she told me that, and I said, you know what? I'd really love to write for you. And she started off paying me $50, which is really bad money. She pays me a lot more than that. But $50 to write some articles, just because we had that conversation, and I said, I'd really love to do that for you. So all of a sudden I had, 2 articles a week, and then I had 4 articles a week. And then, I was able to take that to other people and go, well, this is what I've done for this client. This is what I can do for you. So quite often those first little tiny jobs just come from having conversations. And you can even reach out to people that you'd love to work for and say, hey, I'd love to do something for you. You might have to do a few freebies in the beginning. There's that kind of controversy around working for free. In the very, very early days, I think you can get away with doing that a little bit just to get that experience up so you can showcase what you're doing. And then the other thing as well is to start writing content. If you don't have any work, start writing content about the type of work that you would like to do, or you could do, or how you could teach others. Start publishing that. So it's a really good way to get the ball rolling. And then you'll find once you've got one customer, you do a good job for them, they tell 2 or 3 more people. Maybe one of them comes to you, but then they tell 2 or 3 more people. And then it compounds, and you can see, right, this could potentially be full-time for me.
Yeah, nice. Now, I think you nailed the point there was, getting out there, letting others know, asking for help, and letting know that you've been thinking about it. Most people who are very interested, and they're probably really skilled to do it too, they often are, when it comes to just selling them, or not selling, it's not, I don't want to use the word selling, but it's actually telling or asking for help. They don't do that very much. And so here's I think the challenge here for anyone who's listening and thinking about freelancing is, get this point, go put it to the universe, let the universe know that you are ready to do freelance. But thanks for that. And I think that's the best, most successful possible start point is to just start talking about it. You don't have to go build a $2,000 website at the go. LinkedIn is a good place to start. You've got other platforms, and even social media and social circles like community centers, and there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, I remember I got my first few clients for MyGigsters, and they were playing badminton in a badminton center here. So I went and played badminton with them, and like, oh, what are you? I was like, oh, you can use my product and I can help you. And then off you go. You got 4 customers, and I still play with them. So it's those are this really human places where you can find actual customers. Following that particular question, what I wanted to know is, okay, so with people who are just starting or thinking about starting, here's what you got to do, and we've answered that, right? But there is a whole lot of people who are a bit scared, anxious, and oh my God, I don't know what's happening. I've got mortgage to pay, and I've got kids going to school, and I've got bills to pay. And this climate looks really weird, as in I don't know what's happening, in terms of economics and also in terms of industry. And those are existing freelancers who feel that kind of uncertainty. What do you think? What's something that they could think about and possibly work on it for them to be able to either sustain their income or look at new opportunities or increase their income or save money, whatever that helps them to not only survive but also to be able to sustain?
I mean, it's fiddly and it's tricky, and there's no magic answer to that question. It's the trade-off, I guess. You do have your flexible life, and you have a little bit more time and the freedom to do what you want, but the trade-off is the uncertainty. And that's why you do get people in corporate jobs that they hate, saying that they're never going to leave because they like the paycheck. But there's definitely ways to kind of insure yourself. A lot of freelancers, especially when they start off, they don't charge enough to pay themselves holidays. They don't charge enough to pay themselves sick leave, superannuation. So quite often it is a matter of putting your prices up. The the advice that in my book, if everyone's buying, you're charging too low. If no one's buying, you're charging too high. So it's about finding the sweet spot. You can look at diversifying. What else can you do? What else can you offer? As you grow your freelancing business, you can bring someone on board. I have a fantastic assistant in the Philippines, but you can also, offer a service that supports what you do, and outsource that to the person in the Philippines. So you're starting to grow and you're starting to kind of pad your income. What else? It's important to have your payment terms really clear. So people are paying you either up front or they're definitely paying you a deposit. Whatever you can do so that you're not chasing money, the more you can put focus on that, the better. And then once you've worked with a client, don't forget about them. Don't move on from them. Say, hey, I'd love to do this for you every month or every year, or what else can I give you? The clients that you already have are probably your best source of income. If you can sell them into a monthly package, then you're starting to sit back and go, okay, this month I know I've got X amount coming in. And this is where you start to evolve into a business. And or say to them, hey, thank you for that work. I'd love it if you know anyone else who's looking for work, or can you refer me? You've got to push, you've got to hustle. You're going to have some white knuckle moments. In an ideal world, of course, we all have 3 months worth of income saved up. Oh, and we just draw on that in the tough times. Like, wouldn't that be nice? If you can work towards that, that's fantastic. But when the money's getting slow or running out, you can't sit there and be scared. You've just got to think of the next thing to do and keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Lots of gold nuggets there that you're giving. I'm sure my team has to now capture all of that. But I think there is not one way. There are more ways to. That's what I want the listeners to take out the message that it starts with how much you're pricing to your existing client services and how can you upsell or retain them for longer. Talking about payment terms, diversifying your income, and be able to look out for opportunities and continuously, investing in those opportunities will most likely keep you up in the game and also keep you moving forward. So thank you so much. It's really, I think it's a lot of value in that content, and there's a lot of call to actions for the listeners out there to actually take this and actually implement it. My biggest probably what I want to really highlight is to also look at your finances, and it's really important. No, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to give you a financial advice, but I'm going to give you a general advice. Anybody who needs to do is just make sure you've got your bill sorted out, and you're considered that when you're putting a bid for a project or you are quoting for a project, you're not just quoting because of market, you're also quoting because you got to pay bills, you got to have sick leave, you got to pay the taxes, you might need super and you need to contribute to it, and all of that should be considered, whatever you can, and that should be part of that design of pricing. We are covering a lot of topic, and I wanted to talk more about it, but what's happening today and how people can leverage freelancing, and people who are already doing freelancing can improve and grow on top of it. But recently, in the last 12 months at least, we have seen a rapid shift in how technology and companies and economics have changed in terms of freelancing and the wider self-employed in many ways. One side, I'm hearing new type of gig workers coming. Anything can be gigified now. Like you can be a freelancer for this, freelancer for that. In our community, we got dog walkers, pet sitters, we got massage therapists, we got musicians, we got game streamers, and some that is growing, and the expansion of that universe is incredible in the last few years. And then we had the introduction or the spike of AI entering into the space, and people have realized, oh, AI can write things, AI can draw things, AI can do things, and that's starting to eat into what was traditionally used more into digital marketing, content writing, and all of that space, graphic designing. What's the future that Clea Jones see in terms of freelancing? And with all of this moving parts, what do you see in the future?
That's a really good question. And I was at a business conference the other week, and we were going through ChatGPT and all the other AI tools and how exciting they were. And people turned to me and said, "What are you going to do now, Clea?" And I kind of kept thinking about those door-to-door salesmen who used to sell encyclopedias, and when the internet came, they were probably like, "It's fine, it's fine. People love encyclopedias," and nobody has that collection of Encyclopedia Britannicas in their house anymore because it's all in our palms. I think that evolution is a really important word to keep in mind with all this AI coming up. I looked at the tools and I got really excited, and I thought, wow, I can use these to make me rich and put into AI, hey, write this blog for me. I personally didn't feel like the quality was anything near what I would produce. I listened to a really great copywriting podcast, and it said, just because McDonald's came along, it didn't kill the high-class restaurant. So to me, what AI is producing is the McDonald's of copy and graphics and sound, at the moment. And I think it really highlights the value of genuine, original, personalized content that connects people with people. I've had a few sleepless nights over it, that's for sure. But I think it's about evolving, adapting, and I will be saying to people, look, if you want me to produce some low-cost chat GPT blogs that I just dump in and then tidy up and fact check and I charge you a lower price, I'm absolutely happy to do that. And there's still a need for content managers. So maybe I might, if AI gets to the point where, look, it is just as amazing as anyone could do, I might end up being a content manager. So I'm already kind of thinking about how I can evolve that way. You can't look at this technology and ignore it or hope that it's going to go away. You just have to embrace it and find a way to adapt and educate your clients, talk to them about why you still offer value and the difference that you offer. It's finding balance, but there's a little bit of uncertainty. I'm just trying to see it as an opportunity to adapt and evolve, and hopefully look back in 5 years and go, wow, that's the best thing that ever happened.
Beautiful. I think before I say what I'm going to say, I do want to highlight that you brought that, you talked about, what's the freelancing mindset. And one of the characteristics is that optimism that you see in, you see something in chaos and it's very hard to see. And in all of this noise, you're able to see an opportunity, or you're able to be optimistic to that point of seeing an opportunity. And like Steve Jobs says, you can always only connect the dot backwards, and you can't really connect the dots forward. So I want to highlight that, and I want the listeners to know that it's one of the qualities that you would want to consider when you're thinking about freelancing, is to be optimistic, reasonably optimistic, to be able to look at these as opportunities. But yes, talking about evolving technologies and evolving markets, I'm with you. I think the world is rapidly changing, and you have to find out ways to work with the world, and there are ways to work with the world. And I've been reading about this thing called prompt engineering. As much as AIs are great, you really need to give the right prompt for it to give the best response outside. So, and prompts can only be given by humans at this stage to give the well-designed prompt. So there's big scope of interesting science to it called the prompt engineering, is to able to prompt the AI to be able to give the most optimal outcome. And yes, you're right. And there might be, this could be an avenue for, all the low cost service providers, who wants to have just a content. I don't care how quality it is, but I just want it to get done. And that could be a avenue to make a little bit of income stream. But I also think keeping in touch with the technology and learning with these technologies will help us to evolve and possibly even find out much more bigger opportunities that we don't know. Excellent. I'm so excited. I've got the chance to talk about your story and talk about freelancing and talk about how freelancers can start and survive, and also talk about a little bit of the future. Now, for listeners, I'm not going to let Clea go. She will come back on the podcast again. In fact, she will come to our workshops. We're inviting her to the community, and you will start to see more her and her content, her learnings and experience shared in different formats. So if you're tuned into our newsletters or social media channels, you will start to see more of her valuable content being shared and being used across. So thank you so much for that. I know if a listener wants to reach out to you, one thing I've here is the sixfigurefreelancer.com.au. And for those who are listening, I'll put the URL description in the description, and you can click and go there. I'll put other descriptions also. But if somebody wants to reach out to you, Clea, what other avenues do they have?
So definitely through the website, you can use the contact form. There's also a link on the website for the Facebook group that I've got a little bit of a community there. I wrote down, I've been TikToking. This is exciting for me. I went to a session about TikTok and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So you can search for at Six Figure Freelancer on TikTok, and then on Instagram, it's Clea Jones Freelancer. And I post little tips and bits and pieces there as well.
Nice. So you will see this audio in shorts. Shorts is for YouTube, but you will see in short in TikTok, and we will tag Clea Jones and Six Figure Freelancer, so you'll be able to easily touch to go and follow them. And I really encourage our listeners to go check her out. She's really amazing, and now that I've heard more about her, I'm actually very inspired, and I wanted to, I want to keep talking and I want to learn more. But for this conversation, thank you so much for sharing and also being borderline vulnerable, which is really important. And you did share, the story behind of you becoming freelancer, but also you've been authentic. I love the voice of yours being, I don't know, I am scared like you, but I'm going to figure it out. So this tells me that you as great as you're a freelancer, but also, you're a great person to be as a mentor, to be coached others too. So you're doing fantastic work here, and I'm really happy for someone like you to contribute to the community. So keep it going. From MyGigsters and the rest of the community, a big kudos to what you're doing. And we'll keep the conversation happening, and we'll continue to well into more of these topics about freelancing and able to sustain, grow, improve, all of that in the coming future. But I'm excited. Thank you for sharing.
I'm really happy to come back, and if anyone wants to send me any questions, just ask. If maybe we can do a deep dive into a particular topic. I think the message to share and to remind each other is that we're all looking at everyone else and thinking they're a success, and sitting in our own offices at our own desks thinking that I'm the only one who's a hot mess. Everyone, the most successful people I know work harder than anyone I know. Then it's not magic. It's hard work. And I think we all spend a lot of our day thinking, God damn it, I'm such a hot mess. But if you put the work in, then from the outside, people are going to think you're doing well.
If you are listening, this is your first episode ever, I hate you. What you need to do is you got to go and listen to the other episodes. We've got amazing guests. We've got over 27 episodes so far. Listen to all of that. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Benjemen. I'm the CEO and founder of an amazing fintech community called as MyGigsters. Come and join the community, and you will find other amazing people and an exclusive one for gig workers and freelancers. So stay tuned until I meet you on the next Gig Pod with another new guest. I will say bye from Benji and Clea Jones.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, everyone.